If you are a B2B SaaS company that is growing from sales and demos instead of signups, or you're also growing from sales and demos along with signups, then you need to have a back-end selling system. With the help of this back-end selling system, we increased our clients' close rate by 20 to 30% on an average. And for this particular client, they increased their close rate by 25%. And just because of that, they are now making additional 600K in revenue every year. Not only that, we are bringing them clients like Bravo, Deal, Perplexity, Lovable, US Bank, Bank of America, Citibank, SaaSTR. And here's the proof of all that. I was showing all that not to flex, but to say that this thing works. And there are 4 steps that you need to implement in order to do well. So let's jump right into it. Now let's talk about the very first step. Let's say your prospect was visiting the page, right? And that was the 10th of April. They booked the demo, which is now in 15th April, for example. So now do you see this gap of 5 days? And let's say they book a second call, right? In 25th April, because they might want some time to do some back and forth with their team in order to come up with a decision or something, or to bring in their decision maker. And here you're seeing like a 10-day gap. Now during this time they're talking to your competitors, then they're talking to their team members, and the same thing must be going on here as well, right? You might also have more calls, like a third call. They're doing the exact same thing. So you need to have what I call deal control, which is the most important thing in B2B SaaS sales. Now let me share why it's so important, right? They saw your landing page and all that stuff, and the time that it took them would be 5 minutes in this case. We can also take 10, for example. And then they were on a call with you on which they had 30 minutes of time spent with you. And then the same thing here. They spent another 30 minutes. Let's say you had another call as well with them, right? Imagining that your sales cycle would be longer, then you spent a total of 100 minutes with them. 3 calls, 30 minutes is 90 minutes, and taking the higher value here, we found out that it's 100 minutes. That is the only amount of time that you had to influence your prospects into buying a solution. The job of the backend selling system that I've built is to increase this by 2x. And when I do this, it increases our close rates by like 20 to 30% on an average for our clients. Now that you know its importance, there are 4 steps to do it. The first 2 are really small and are obviously known everywhere, but the last 2 are really important. So first is you need to learn how to plant seeds early. This is a sales process thing, because like I said, they're going to go to their competition and team members, and they're always going to say some stuff about you. They're going to bring some downsides, some negatives, maybe some bad review that they found online. They're actively doing their best to not choose you at all. Look, your competition is telling that you suck and they're the best, which happens in all sales calls. Maybe they even talk to agencies that are telling them that, hey, why don't you try a done for you solution? And don't fall into all this stuff. It's just going to take your time. Don't work on this software and all that stuff. Just give all that headache to us instead. And then your team members are telling you maybe that, hey, why aren't we doing this ourselves? We can just build this internally or whatever. Look, honestly, the prospect itself is another big problem, because they might be doing their own research through Google, Reddit, YouTube, whatever, and they're always looking with very high skepticism to actively find a reason not to move ahead with you. And that is why you need to plant seeds early. So let's take an example here. Let's say an agency is telling you that, hey, it will take too much time to set things up, too much time and effort. So why don't you just give it to us? That's essentially what they'll be talking about in the whole call. Once they get to know that you're actively looking for the solution and they also went to you and took a demo from you, all the objections that you could possibly get, and try to disarm them proactively in the very first call itself. And obviously you'll have to be very smart with it. Like, you can't really have a dedicated section during the whole call where you're just telling them that, hey, you might be getting these many things in your buying process, and just to make it clear, like, I'll tell you, this is the answer, this is the answer to this one, this is the answer to this one. You can't really do that. You'll have to bring it proactively during the conversation, put it inside, and just kind of weave it in. There's no framework for this, and you'll have to be smart with it. You need to anticipate as many objections as you can, and let's say you have anticipated the very first objection, you need to proactively disarm them, like I said. So let's say these guys were saying that you take too much time and effort. So because you're a software, you can talk about Are they scalable at all? Because they're an agency, right? Can they scale depending on your needs? And then they'll be like, I guess this was a very stupid example, but I hope you get the point. Then let's go to the second step, which is BAM FAM. Most of you know this. For some of you who don't, it's book a meeting from a meeting. And before you roll over your eyes, this is important for the next two steps. This is why I included this. You need to always book a meeting from a meeting, and this should always happen at the end of the call. Just talk about the next step. So let's say if they tell that I need to talk, like I need to discuss this with my team, and then you can ask them how much time would it take to do that. They will tell a week from now, I guess. So 7 days plus 2 days. You tell them, okay, how about I just send an invite from now, 9 days from now, and we'll just take it from there. And if most of the times it's just a yes, like you send an invite and then you wait for them to accept it, then you're good to go. You can end the call right there. Now let's talk about step number three. Now the reason I was emphasizing on this is because your sales dynamic has not completely changed. It's proactive instead of reactive. You're not trying to play catch up now and trying to just book another call through your email where you have very less control. It's now so proactive that you're sending them sales assets, you're sending them case studies, you're sending them trust assets. So let's say if the call is in like 10 days from now, the second call, right? You can send two emails or three emails. And because this is their second call, they might now know about your software. You don't really need to educate them on that. They just need to build up more trust. So send some case studies that are really really relevant to their industry. If it's not the case, then just send the regular case study, the best case study that you have. Also put in testimonials. Just try to build up as much trust as you can. And then the second email could be a value asset. So let's say they came up with an objection, right? Or they came up with their pain in the call. You were able to discover that pain. So what you need to do is just send an asset that caters to that pain. Then you can just send it to them and you'll be good to go. In this way, you're not really being this alpha sales guy. You're just trying to help them out in their process by making them feel in control. You're giving them all that you need in order to go ahead. And it always doesn't hurt to give some value by yourself proactively. And this is where you start to 2x the deal control time that you had. In the third call, which might be at 10 days, you might not want to do more, which is building authority. So, have you been featured in a podcast, for example? And does that podcast talk about the most relevant topic that is there for them? For example, you can just send that podcast, or maybe in the second or the third call they might want to do some calculation. Just send them an ROI calculator. Have you made that? If yes, then just send it to them with a walkthrough video that shows the benefits that they're going to get, the positives that they're going to get after using your solution. Always keep doing this between the calls so that you always keep that real estate in their head. You always stay on top of their mind, and you decrease your no shows. You also increase your chances of getting a close because you're being so professional and proactive all the time. Prospects really see that and it really influences them. Now let's talk about the very last thing, which is now all on marketers. So these three things is what the sales team should do, but what should marketers do in order to assist their sales team in order to close that deal? No marketer has ever thought of it. For some reason, they don't even do this. Maybe they would have thought of it, but their leadership doesn't allow them to do it for some reason. But this is so important. This is all manual, right? They are sending their case studies and testimonials manually. What marketers can do is launch a retargeting sequence using ads, which doesn't even cost much. It will cost you like $10 a day for all your prospects, literally. If you have like 100 companies every month coming in your pipeline, $10 a day is sufficient. It's more than enough. Another, which could be SMS. Also depends on your ICP, right? If it's too much for your ICP, then just get rid of SMSs. It might just irritate them. And the type of content that you could use for this, where once the strategy has been made out, you just use these three channels just send that content to them in different formats. Let's take call number three as well. Now remember I said that they visited your page on 10th April and then just booked the demo, their first call, and that's like in 5 days. So what you should be doing in those 5 days is just first is get rid of the most common objections that you get on a sales call. So what are the top 5 objections that you could take care of? Make a video on it, make an email on it. Let's say there are 5 different objections. You can make a dedicated ad video on it that talks about it for a minute. An email that takes care of all those objections, and then send that email before the call. Retarget them using those ad videos on Meta, on LinkedIn, on YouTube for really cheap, and just share all these 5 videos. Let them see at least twice before the call even happens. So in this way, you have taken care of the most common objections that they have, and it reduces your sales cycle. It will reduce the need for having more calls in order to come up with a decision. Second is you need to educate them because this is their first call. Do all that you would, like make a 2 minute demo video and use that to retarget using ads. Send an email that links this 2 minute video so that they could take a look. A feature spotlight section which takes care of the feature they are most excited about. So let's say in the demo booking form, you can also ask a question like what is the most important thing that you want to tackle to figure out their most immediate pain. And whatever that most immediate pain is, send that email to them which talks about that very feature. It walks through that feature in 1 minute. It shows how will you take care of that pain that you have with this given feature by our software. And you can again make a video on it. You can do it on text and send that to them via email. Do both at the same time. If you don't do this in your demo booking form, that's fine. The last thing here is setting the frame for the call. Same thing, you should do this on an email. And that's just call one. Now for call two, you need to do something else as a marketer where you're actively building trust. Like I said before, send case studies, send testimonials as well. And again, set the frame for the second call if it's important. Because sometimes things can be dynamic in the second call. And then third is you're doing the trust part again, but you're also building authority on top of it. Something, right? Just to show your authority. You're maybe featured in a newsletter or a blog or an article or a podcast. It could be anything. So wherever you are featured, just use that to retarget them using ads. Send that in the email. And yeah, that's the best you can do. And this is just one of the engines that we build for our customers. There are two more engines that are needed. This is the third engine. The first engine is to get the attention using ads. The second is qualifying them so that you don't need a discovery call. And then third is to close them. And this is what this entire system does. All of this happens inside our paid ad system that we build for our B2B SaaS clients. And I've brought these results with that paid ad system. Lizer made 4 million, Quads made more than a million. A cold email software made more than 2 million in 6 months. If you want me to run this system for you, then just book a call. If I don't make your paid ads profitable in the next 60 days, then you'll just get all my retainers back. That's our offer to you. If you're interested, then just book a call and I'll see you there.